How are you, our viewers? Welcome to our today's program. We are discussing a very interesting topic that I know you really love. It's an issue that is affecting our society today, and it's about father as a mentor of the boy child, or as the mentor of the boy child. And today we have our guest in our studio, Mr. Kamore, who is an expert in these matters. He's a counselor and also an author. And we want to thank God that because he has found time to be here. This program is courtesy of Crike, and I want to give Mr. Kamore just 1 minute to introduce himself and just tell our viewers who Mr. Kamore is and maybe a bit of your passion for the boy child. I know you have written a book. We'll come to that later. Yes. On this topic. Karibu.
Okay. Thank you, Pastor Mutua. Our listeners and viewers out there, my name is Stephen Kamore. I'm the Program Director, Counseling Research Institute of Kenya. I'm an author, and I'm also a counselor and a mentor, and especially on the boy child. I have a good program which has been running for the last 5 years called Walk with the Boy Child. And I tend to think that that's why we are here, because one way of working with the boy child is empowering the father as a mentor.
Wow.
Yes.
Welcome, Mr. Kamore. I know we'll have a great time giving your input and your expertise in this matter. Now, Mr. Kamore, there is an evident crisis of the boy child that is already witnessed out there. And the question is, do you think the crisis of the boy child is attributed to the lack of mentorship by fathers?
Well, let me first of all by saying that as a research institution, we have carried out research on the boy child. And one of the research that we carried out, we did it in Juja sub-county. Our viewers and listeners can follow it in the online. And we were trying to find out why the boy child is unable to transit successfully into adulthood. And therefore, we were asking ourselves, these challenges that the boy child is actually facing, what could be attributing to this? For example, when you look at the boy child, the life storm seems to be swaying him away. That's why you find the boy child is already lost in drug and substance abuse. The boy child is lost in poverty. You know, because again, Lou, most of them don't want to actually take responsibility. And there are so many challenges that this boy child is facing. And one of them, and especially for the young boys, is what we call identity crisis. So the question you're asking now, do they really understand themselves and what makes them unique as men? And out of this, we actually felt that one intervention measure that we can take as an institution and recommend this to the society is that it is time to empower the fathers as mentors. Because the father is a role model and therefore plays a very important role in mentoring the boy child. Now, if you look at the role of mentorship, it is actually the way to go. And therefore, that's why this program is very relevant to our listeners and viewers there. If you are a man and you are listening to us, even if you are a mother listening to us, it is very important we embrace the reality. The boy child now requires mentorship. Yes.
And the father is a key factor in this. And so you can't, according to what you're explaining, Mr. Kamore, you cannot talk about mentorship of the boy child without bringing the father on board.
Yes.
So he's a factor in the mentorship on the development of the boy child.
Yes.
And so you are agreeing there is a crisis.
Yes, there is a crisis. And, you know, we don't want to throw this blame to anybody. You know, a society that wants to change, you don't dwell on blame. The blame game is where we want to remove our listeners from. That who is to blame the society, the government. No, what we are trying to say is that the boy child require attention. He requires to be nurtured. He requires to be taken care of. And therefore, what are we supposed to do? One of the remedies, there could be very many others. Because, you know, when you come to the registrations, the government registrations, we don't have a gap. A boy child is a child like a girl child. But now the implementer of the gender laws and all that, probably they might be biased. And that's why we are here saying, we need to go beyond and ask the fathers, can we be able to start in the gap and work with the boy child? That's why the program is here.
Wow.
Yes.
Now, what are some of the areas in which now this crisis of the boy child is demonstrated in the society?
When you talk about a crisis, there are very many things. When you look at the boy child, is dropping out of the school very early. You know, when we were carrying out our research, we collected data, and we got data from boys from the age of 7 years to around 19. And we interviewed about 300 of them. And we were trying to ask them, what challenges are you facing? And we were able to see very many of them. Some of them are discriminated in the family, isn't it? We have some of them engaging in child labor. And you know, look at like now the number of dropout, especially in certain areas. Boy child is now, because of the idea of making money and wealth, because that's the value that society is looking at. They are not pursuing on with education. Many of them are dropping along the way. We have, as we have said, the crisis again, which is also coming up. Of rate, and I'm not saying it is bad, we have so many single mothers and fathers who have raised children. And therefore, they need mentors. And that one can be a crisis because there's the Lord, a father figure, can actually pray. And that's why, if you allow me, I would go on and try to define the father figure. The father figure here we are addressing outside there is not only the biological father. We are looking for this adult man who has a contact with the boy child. This father could be a pastor. This father could be a Sunday school teacher. This father could be a neighbor. This father could be an uncle. So when we address the word father, we should not only think about that biological father, so that now even the children who are being brought up by the single mothers, they need to have a father figure. It could be an uncle, it could be a cousin of probably the wife, somebody who can be trusted, because we are going to look at who is this mentor. And the reason why we are talking about this is because the foundation is very important. And one of the role of the men as mentors is to lay the foundation for the manhood of this boy. I think I love the illustration in the book of Matthew, chapter 7, 24 to 27, where Jesus talked about the wise builder and the foolish builder. Now, you know, that one is very important. And what he was trying to say is, if you have a strong foundation for the boy child in terms of values, in terms of self-awareness, in terms of very many things, then we are saying this boy, when he grows up, he will be able to stand the storms of life. The storms of drugs, the storms of unemployment, the storms of poverty, the storms, you know, of even sometimes absent fathers, because you can have an absent father and still become a responsible, you know, child or boy. The storm of the weak family structures, even the storm of the criminal gangs, the storm of cultism, and very many other storms. So that is why this parable is a very good way of looking at how we need to raise up the boy. The foundation is very important. So men, we need to be wise builders. so that we lay good foundation for these boys, from where they will be grounded. And then when they grow up, they will be able to stand, or they will not even be able to be swayed by some of the life storms that we are experiencing today. And those are the issues we are saying are creating the boy-child crisis.
Wow.
Yes.
Now, from the research that you conducted, you
Yes.
said in Juja.
Yes.
Juja, for the sake of our viewers who may not know, Juja is in Kiambu County, and it is in Kenya, Africa. So, can you just explain within 1 minute
Yes.
a bit of this research, the title of the research,
Yes.
and also if you can just tell us a bit of the statistics that also justifies our discussion today with regards to the crisis of the boy child and the need of mentorship from their fathers.
Yes.
Yeah.
What I would really want to say, because that's a very big paper to discuss, I just want to say that one of the findings, because we wanted to find out factors hindering the transition of the boy child into responsible adulthood.
Yeah.
And we noted that literally the major issue is the foundation.
Okay.
And that's why I am bringing this concept that the fathers as mentors, we must assist in laying the foundation for the boy child. And that is why the transition to adulthood is a challenge to them. So they need somebody to walk with them. Mentorship is a walk. That's why actually this is what informed my program on walk with the boy child.
Walk
And
with
we
the
have
child.
really worked with very many boys, and it is really succeeding. I can tell you without doubt.
Yeah.
Our listeners who are part of this program can bear me witness.
Now, the walk with the boy child entails people camping or
What we do,
yeah.
it's a program. We have developed programs, and we work with boys from the age of 10
Yeah.
to around 19. But now of late we are getting challenged because those that have transited the university, they are telling us we cannot leave us. So now we are now thinking about transiting with the emerging adults.
Okay.
And therefore, there are very many activities of mentorship. Mentorship is about identifying the gaps where this boy child has a weakness, and then we empower them.
Okay.
And this varies depending on the age. The challenges of the boy child between the age of 10 to 12 may not be the same as 18 to 19. Those who are in high school have their own challenges. So the idea of mentorship is to find out the gap and then know how to bridge that gap. So there are very many things we do.
Yeah.
And we always have this program every December. Like now this December, we have a program and we are going all the way to Naivasha.
Wow.
Where we'll be camping
A camp, yeah?
for a number of things.
So now
Yes.
you're talking of foundational issues.
Yes.
That mentorship requires foundational
Yes.
issues to be put in place for that boy child to be able to transition to adulthood. Now, what are some of those foundational issues? You can mention one or two. And number two, focus on the mentor himself.
Yes.
For him to be able to build these foundational issues, and what are they? And then what is it required of him as a father? Because he is a father, and he actually doesn't understand the nitty-gritties of being a foundational builder, a mentor. So can you kindly explain to our viewers the foundational aspects, a number of them? I know there are many, Mr. Kamore, and also can you analyze the mentor himself, the father? Now,
One thing I want to say, that from our research and even general observation, one of the core challenge of the boy child is identity crisis. The key focus of the identity crisis is who am I as a man?
Yeah.
So here we bring the concept of masculinity, which is actually a social construct. Let me tell you, man is a construct of the society. That's why we say among our society, a man is like this. But when you go to another one, a man may be something else. So this masculinity that forms our identity as men is a construct.
You mean going to the gym and building
No,
masculinity?
not really.
Because some people might
Okay,
think that,
it is true. There are those physical issues.
Yes.
You may have the muscles.
Yes.
But you are not yet. You
Yeah.
are not. You don't have the awareness.
So it's not about the physique, the external.
It's part of it.
It's part of it.
But there is more to that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because our physical differences or biological differences is part of our manhood.
Yes, okay.
But we are saying when it comes to the social aspects, the man is a construct of the society. That's why you see, like now when you come to the church, the man who is called a Christian man is a construct of Christianity. There are values that you need to base your life on, and there are cultural values, and there are principles of man that must be taught, and then you must enable this man to embrace some life skills that will enable him to be a man. A man, for example, is a leader. The question is, do we have leadership skills? We expect this man to be a good communicator in the family. Does he have those skills? There are cultural considerations which we also need to consider, because man is a social construct and culture is part of him. Does he understand his background? Does he know how man should behave in a certain context? Isn't it? And that's why we are saying the father must come as a role model and must embrace the work of mentorship. You have said, I focus on the father. Awesome. Now, this man is the one to show the way. Is the one to walk with the boy child. And therefore, what we are trying to ask ourselves is, are we able to raise up a boy who can survive in the 21st century? Remember, society is dynamic, culture is dynamic, and the 21st woman is different from the traditional woman you used to think about in terms of the empowerment. That's why we are saying women have been empowered more than boys. But I don't want to say it is bad. We need to empower women even more. But now what we are trying to say, this empowered woman requires an empowered man who can now be able to walk with this empowered woman without feeling intimidated. And therefore, you want me to tell this man what we expect from him. Now, I want to say that you, a man as a mentor, one thing that must come out clearly is that we must be role models. I want to look at it. We cannot liberate our children from drugs if we are in the forefront in taking the same drugs. And therefore, I think I have a model that I like recommending for the father figures. And it has 4 steps. I like saying one, before personally I'm a man. By the way, I have my son. And I'm a mentor to him. I'm a mentor to very many boys. Even in the neighborhood, in the church. And you see what I say, you have first of all to do one. You must prepare yourself. Now, this preparation means that me as a mentor, I must have self-reflection. I must understand who I am. Isn't it? I must understand myself very well. I must know what are my weaknesses. I must know what are my strengths. And therefore, I make effort to deal with those issues. Because a mentor must be somebody who can be emulated. So I must work so much on my personal development as a man. And that is why I'm saying, are men prepared? And that is why I'm very happy. Of late, I've seen churches, I have seen corporate organizations bringing men, even schools. Recently, we started having meetings of fathers only. And they come to a school, and by the way, they come in large numbers because they feel they have been recognized. And in those forums, we prepare them and empower them by giving them assignments that will gear towards self-reflection. And out of these, they are now able to be ready to know themselves, to move on and grow as mentors. The second step, for preparation to be complete, we recommend learning. You know, I don't know whether Pastor Mutua, if I ask you, you have observed, many rarely attend seminars.
Yeah.
Men rarely value knowledge. Those who are in business is about business
They
and
don't-
business.
They even don't attend the functions for their children.
Yeah, even in
boys'
school.
In boys' schools.
Even in school,
They
where
rarely-
a lot of
they
capacity,
They
they rarely.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they don't.
They are,
They rarely, because we are also here to
there are
encourage
more
them.
women than men.
Yes.
Especially in boys' schools.
Yes.
Yeah, you find that more women are attending their sons' functions.
Yes.
Than their male counterparts.
Now, the question now I'm bringing here for our listeners and viewers outside there is, you cannot give knowledge which you don't have.
Yes.
So the question now we are asking ourselves is this. Do we have parenting skills? Do we have knowledge about the boy child? Do we have knowledge that we can impact? So boy child, we have said mentorship is about skill gap.
Yeah.
You'll find people saying my child is becoming rebellious. Now, do we have knowledge on how to handle discipline? That's why the book on parenting, I have a very good book that fathers can use for disciplining, for instilling discipline in their children. And by the way, do you know, I think one of these days you'll be discussing about discipline.
Yeah.
Because discipline is not punishing children, it is about training them. You want your child to learn things, you train them. You cannot become a good trainer if you don't learn. So that's why that's why we have put this program. We are now educating our men. And we are saying, can churches and corporate organizations embrace the idea of empowerment and engage us there to come and offer knowledge, to come and offer these research findings, so that we can be able to steer ahead the revolution of empowering the boy child.
Yeah.
After they have learned the third thing, they must practice. Let me tell you, you see, even what we are sharing here, even if my listeners and my viewers, you listen to this information, and then you go away, it will not have an impact.
Yeah.
Even if you do research, and we bring you all the information, there is a lot of research information about the boy child, but it is just rotting online. Others is collecting dust in the libraries, but we need to come out and practice. And our practice means we take action. Like now, what we are doing now, coming to you through this media, it has costed us a lot of sacrifice, isn't it? So that now we practice this. And one way is reach out. What kind of a son do you want to have in the next 20 years? You have a role to practice. Practice in training, practice in your communication, practice in mentorship, practice and practice. Now, before you reach now to that boy who is practicing, because you are now focusing the father, we have learned about good communication. Are you a good communicator? Practice that knowledge yourself. We are saying we want somebody who is disciplined. Are you disciplined yourself as a father? So that is why you're saying, after you prepare, after you learn knowledge about manhood, practice that knowledge yourself. After now you practice it, it becomes a success. And when it becomes a success, now you have authority now to take it to the next level by teaching your boy child. So that is what we are saying. The first 3 steps, prepare, learn, and practice, is about you, the father. You see now, it's like we want good children, we want good boys, but we are not good ourselves. In fact, one smart boy in one of the seminar asked a very embarrassing question. We are talking about sexuality. And he said, our speaker, do you know why we are going around sleeping with women? And that's what our fathers do. So what are we trying? What were they telling? It was very embarrassing. And I'm sorry to say it, but I think it's an illustration. It is a saying, we are not observing what you want us to be in our fathers. So the challenge I have as a father, can my son use me as a role model? And now, I cannot become a role model until I take time to prepare to be one. I take time to learn about that man I want to see in the society. They always say, be the change that you want to see, isn't it? I must be that change of the man, that man who can make an impact in the society today, isn't it?
Yeah.
I must also practice what I'm learning. So that's how I end up becoming a role model. And they can say, oh, Daddy, I love the way you do things. And that is why we are saying, after now I go through these steps, the next thing I should now study is now mentoring. I should go now and start teaching my boys. Pass on now the baton. Pass on now the knowledge to this boy child. So that now mentorship can move on. And I've said mentorship is about empowerment. It's about giving skills. It's about creating opportunities to empower these boys to be real men.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. There is something you said, I was just trying to check it here, about the issue of mentors being, or fathers, not just being biological fathers. By extension, that even within the society, we need to have mentors by extension. Because there are some boys from single parents, and then even in the children's home, there are others even from dysfunctional families. You are recommending as an expert that fathering should not just be confined within the biological context.
Yes.
It should be extended. And my director is telling me that we have a few minutes remaining. Kindly respond to that.
Now, the reason why you are saying it should not be restricted to the biological father. And Mutua, we must be very honest. We have an emerging trend of the family that is coming up.
Yeah.
We have so many single mothers, and I'm not saying they are bad. They are good parents. Some of them have given us their children to mentor them on their behalf. We provide the father figure through mentorship program. But we are saying this is a concerted effort. Now, for that child who doesn't have a father, a biological father, who will mentor this boy? We are saying, and we are telling our viewers, that if you have that kind of a child, look for a man who can be trusted. This could be a pastor, it could be an uncle, it could be a relative, but we are saying the man figure. Even the teachers were in school. The other day I was in an institution and I was telling them, start the mentorship programs for the boys, so that these boys may be able to identify with you. I'm not saying you separate them from the girls, but I'm saying you take this initiative as a very serious initiative. Let us not just be saying the boy child is neglected. You know, discussing the mistakes and the undoing is not going to add any value. The value is going to come by embracing that every man mentor a boy child. Either in your institution, either in your neighborhood. So that now when you talk about the father, because now their boys I mentor, some of them have no fathers. But they feel good because I am able to help them to grow as men. There's this verse, I think, in the book of Kings. When David was actually dying, he had a premonition that his days are coming to an end. And he called his son Solomon. And you know the concluding advice he told him, my son, show yourself to be a man. Why didn't God give him so many other things? And he was very particular. So our children, our boy child, need a mentor to help them live and show themselves to be men.
Wow, wonderful.
Yes.
You're reminding me of the words of Apostle Paul. And I like the way you have just said that the 4 requirements of a mentor, whether a biological father, or by extension, the pastor there, or any other leader or key figure that our men, our boys, should look up for mentorship. That the first 3
is prepare.
They go back to
themselves.
Personal development.
Yes.
The person himself, the mentor himself.
Yes.
And only one that deals with the mentee. Is it mentee?
Yes.
And Paul says here, he was talking to Timothy, 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 10, but you have carefully followed my doctrine. Doctrine, it's a way of life. It's not just about a teaching. Manner of life, purpose, faith, long-suffering, love, perseverance, persecutions, afflictions, which happened to me at Antioch. And according to what you have said, Paul is telling Timothy, look at me.
Yes, I'm your role model.
What you need to become, I contribute 75%.
Yes.
3 over 4. Is it 3 over 4?
Yes.
Out of the 4, 3 they focus on the mentor. On the mentor.
And I think I like
On the mentor.
I like the scripture.
Yes.
You see, Paul, I have not thought about it that way.
Yeah.
But I think from what now you have brought on board, Paul was a mentor to Timothy.
Yes.
And even Titus.
Yeah.
And he was not nearly their biological father.
He wasn't.
But he was a spiritual father.
Yeah.
And therefore, he was telling them, I prepared myself first. Isn't it? I learned how to grow spiritually. And therefore, I have my manner of life of how I should behave as a man of God. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Then he was telling them, I understand my purpose. I have my own faith. I have my own values that have enabled me to survive as man. And therefore he was telling them, now you, Timothy, you can emulate me.
Wow.
So now what he was doing, he had already prepared himself, he had learned, and he had practiced. Now he was telling Timothy, it is now your time. I pass over the baton.
Wow.
Just imitate me. Carefully follow my life, and you'll never go.
Yeah.
How many of us who
It's a
can
challenge.
actually be able
It's a challenge.
to tell our sons, follow me as your father, and you'll never regret.
Wow.
Sometimes I challenge myself, and I always ask my son, can you follow me? And he says, Daddy, yes. Yes, I mean, although it might look difficult sometimes, but he always makes the effort. And that's why we were saying that men need to grow as mentors. And we need to know, as much as we are supporting the girl child, look at who is empowering the girl child. Women have really embraced the girl child, and they are doing a lot of things. Every mother is telling the girl child, it is our time. It is our time to recreate ourselves to survive in the 21st century in terms of leadership, in terms of education. But we are the fathers. We need to avoid being absentee fathers to our boy child. Let us be available to them. Let us listen to them. Let us understand that they have special needs so that we can bond with them. And once we do this, I can tell you, we are going to transform and empower the boy child. I have seen it work.
Thank you.
Yes.
Our time is up, our viewers, and I know you have learned a lot on this topic of father as a mentor of the boy child. It's something that is agreed from our discussion and other research elsewhere that there is an issue of gap. There is a gap between the aspects of mentorship. And one thing I've liked, Mr. Kamore, out of this discussion is about the mentor himself ought to do a lot of work on himself.
Yes.
It should be much easier to mentor when the person mentoring has really demonstrated those values first in his life.
Yes.
Thank you so much, and maybe our guest, Mr. Kamore, can give us his contacts. I'm also aware that they are appearing on your screen, but just in case, he can just give us his number, and maybe December they're having this walk with the boy child camp in Naivasha.
Yes.
In Naivasha, maybe we'll be getting more information as we get closer to the date.
Yeah, what I can say about that camp,
1 minute.
for the listeners,
Yeah.
you can be following the Facebook. We'll have the posters there. They will give you all the details. But it is a wonderful journey. If you are a single mother and you are there and you are wondering, where will I take my child? We have a space for you. Bring the child to this program. We walk with them until they grow up, and you'll never regret about it. About my contact, you can always get me the numbers on the screen. 0721 34 54 50. You can also follow my Facebook page, Stephen Kamore, and also my YouTube account, Stephen Kamore. You can always like and follow, because all this information is free. It's only pressing the button and you have access. You can download. We don't sell our content. Even what we are giving you, we are giving it because, the Bible says a man sharpens, an iron sharpens an iron. It doesn't add any value sitting on knowledge. You do a lot of researches and you die with it. We are here, you have said, we are here for you. Do you have a man or even boys mentorship program in your church? Get us and we shall walk together with you. Do you have programs of the boy child and even challenges of fathers in your schools? We are available for you. it is only a call away.
Yeah.
And we are able to come and walk the journey with you. Otherwise, my parting words to you is mentorship is very crucial.
Yeah.
And the father figure plays a major role. Let us all do our part by growing ourselves first. Then the future will be growing the boys. So that is what we are saying. That's why we are saying father as a mentor. So my conclusion, let us grow ourselves as the fathers. Then once we grow up as fathers,
Yes.
then we have right to grow our boys. And that is what I'm trying to say. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kamore. It's a blessing to have you in this studio. Always a pleasure because of your input and wealth into these matters. And we really want to thank God. Our viewers, I know you have benefited from this program. And the next program will be interacting with you. I know there are comments that are just trending right now as we continue this discussion. Kindly next time we'll be able to interact with you and appreciate you either in the course of the program or hereafter. We really appreciate your most valued comments. God bless you so much. We'll see you next time. Thank you, Mr. Kamore, for accepting to spend
Thank you.
and to be spent
Thank you.
for the kingdom purpose.
Yeah, thank you. Be blessed.
Thank you.